All right, well, my name is Stacy Silvia. I am a Community Outreach Coordinator for Santa Barbara County Animal Services. I appreciate you all being here today and taking the time to learn about what it is that you can do to prepare yourselves. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it is that we do and how we respond in the event of a disaster. We are quite busy right now, and I apologize. After I get done speaking, I'm going to be cutting out of here because we are very active in working the mudslides happening in Montecito right now. So I'll be resuming my post down there. But I left some of my business cards on the table, the HEET table, and some other information back there for Santa Barbara County Animal Services. So if you want to get in touch with us, have additional questions that maybe I don't answer for you, I'm happy to answer those at a later date. So Santa Barbara County Animal Services is your municipal facility. We have 3 shelters in Lompoc, Santa Maria, and Santa Barbara. And our teams are disaster service workers. We're mandated to be disaster service workers. So if something happens, we respond. And what happens is that the law enforcement or fire entities will activate us. They will call us and they will say, okay, we have this incident, or we're looking at this incident with the mudslides. This started a full weekend before it happened. We're expecting rain. We need you to activate. This is what's going on. So our teams handle that aspect of things. But we have small teams. We have about 40 employees to cover all 3 of our shelters, and we have to maintain those operational shelters in the other locations as well. So what we do is we lean heavily on our partners to respond in a disaster. And once we get activated, we activate those partners depending on where the disaster is. So the Thomas Fire and this mudslide, we have activated Equine Evac. During the Alamo Fire, which happened earlier in 2017 up in the North County, we reached out and we activated HEET. And with those organizations, they have the trained volunteers. They have the equipment. They continuously train on horse rescue or even livestock rescue in general throughout the year. And we then maintain the dispatch line. And we call them and say, okay, this is where we need you to go. And that way we're ensuring that our responders are safe. With Animal Services, we also establish the sheltering locations. And when we do that, we're working with our partners to figure out where the best place is. But oftentimes we're looking at mass facilities. During the Thomas Fire, we were sheltering up near, what, Kathy, 800 animals? 800 horses and livestock at Earl Warren? We also respond to any type of cruelty and neglect investigations within our county with regards to livestock and horses. We, during those neglect investigations, oftentimes will reach out for help or support as we need it. And we also will respond to accidents that involve our livestock in our community. And we know that Santa Barbara County has a lot of livestock, and it is a very large horse-loving county that we live in. So we're proud to be a part of it. Things that you guys can do, and I know they're going to touch on it throughout this event, is making sure that you have a kit. Make sure that you have a disaster kit in place for your livestock, for your horses. Making sure that if you don't have a trailer, that you maybe have somebody on the same property where you keep your horse that does. And you work with that person to have a plan to evacuate your horses. Make sure that your horses get the exposure to trailering. That's a big thing that we get, is we get calls that say, hey, I need help. My horse has never been in a trailer. And thankfully, our team's trained for that, and they're very, very good. But that puts additional stress on those resources. So training and following your plan. There's a story about 2 friends that were up in the Painted Cave area, and they had horses. They each had a horse at this place, and so they would carpool together. And they said, okay, well, if something happens, we're gonna load up each other. You know, we'll load up our horses. We'll load up each other's horses, and we'll evacuate them out. Well, when something happened, they loaded up the horses, and the gal got in, and she pulled out pretty soon her friend's calling and saying, "You left me here." So it's really important that you don't even that you have a plan, that you practice your plan, but you practice it fully, because that's really easy to do. It's really easy for us to say, "Oh, well, I have a plan, I know what I'm going to do," but if you don't practice it, when a disaster strikes, you may not actually be able to carry it through, or you might forget those important details like your friend or the other horse. So that's really important. And then we support the sheltering aspect during a disaster. So we are checking in, figuring out what the needs are at those sheltering locations. So in South County, we oftentimes use Earl Warren showgrounds. We've gotten overflow at that and taken them down to Ventura County in the past. We also utilize private resources when we're available too. So that's one way that you guys can get involved when it's not a disaster. If you have additional stalls in your barn or paddock areas, and those areas are oftentimes clear, you don't expect them to be utilized, give us a call. We'll get you on our resource list. And as we're going through these disasters, especially ones that are going to be longer, we start using that resource list and taking horses from Earl Warren or from their exact evacuation location and to another resource where they can be cared for. And we let you work with the owner on the care of those animals and any type of financial situation that you want to work out. We stay out of the middle of that. But that is an area that you can also get involved, is by offering your resources if you have them. During a disaster, we do not use spontaneous volunteers. So I know a lot of people want to help, and they'll call and say, "I have a 4-horse trailer and a truck and I'm ready to go." That's really a safety hazard for us and a liability, sending people into the field that we don't work with continuously. So if that's something that you want to get involved with, I strongly encourage you to get involved with HEET, get involved with Equine Evac, which you're going to hear about how you do that. But those are the teams that we will deploy in a disaster. So although we appreciate those calls, we can't utilize those people. We can, and we did during the Thomas Fire, utilize spontaneous volunteers to help with the care of livestock, and that was facilitated through Equine Evac. But with animal services, there's a big liability factor there. People are expecting that their animals will be taken care of. They've called us to help them get them out. And we have to be sure we're using trained professionals to do that. So if you want to get involved, those are some ways that you can do it. But the biggest thing from an animal services standpoint that you can do is be prepared. We will tell you where you can take your animal, but be prepared to do it. And leave as soon as you get a warning. Do not wait until they say you have an evacuation order. If you have large animals, we want those out as soon as a warning is issued, for their safety, for your safety, and if you need help, for the safety of our first responders.